I'm Gab. He's Jules. No clue about the weather. It may well be cold in West London. For
We
all
don't
know,
care.
But it's red hot here in Doha because we have our two finals. We have our other finals. We have Argentina, and the other team is. There you go. It is France.
Whoa!
You've got a lot of use out of that shirt there, Jules. France against Argentina, Lionel Messi against Kylian Mbappe.
Yes,
much,
baby.
much more than that. Obviously, that's the obvious subtext. A big W for Qatar in that one, right? Messi,
Yeah.
Mbappe, Paris Saint-Germain.
Of course.
How about that?
That's
See, I never
the
missed
dream
on that.
final.
But we're going to start by talking about that France v Morocco semifinal because Morocco, I think, have been the story of the tournament, along with Messi. I don't know. They don't allow me to be an editor, right, to make these big editorial decisions or to be a producer. But if I were, I would say these are my two big stories of this tournament: Morocco, football-wise, Morocco and Lionel Messi's, attempt to win a World Cup.
Yeah, and
right?
farewell too.
So we have to talk about Morocco. I thought that game, Jules, was clearly marked by two things. One is the injuries, because he put Aguerd in the starting lineup when they handed out the team sheets. Supposedly, he tried to warm up. I think he knew. He knew that Aguerd couldn't play. It was going to be some sort of Willis Reed, New York Knicks, 1970 Game 7 NBA Finals moment. By the way, that was before I was bored. But I know my history.
You know your history. The only title that they've ever won, by the way.
But, so he bows out. Romain Saiz and Mazraoui starting. But again, those two guys clearly not fit. After 20 minutes, Saiz went out. So that's one thing which impacted the game. The other thing, inevitably, Theo Hernandez's goal after just, 2-3 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes maybe it was. The injuries to start with, we knew that they were weakened already. We knew that they'd given a lot against Spain, a lot against Portugal, that maybe this was going to be a step too high. I don't know if this is the right thing to try, or if it would have been better to start with 11 fit players, even if they're not at the level of a Saiz or of a Aguerd or of a Mazraoui. We will never know what would have happened if Regragui had started, no Saiz and no Mazraoui, for example, and fit players instead. I can see why he tried it. I can understand the logic behind it. I know you want to play a semi-final of the World Cup if you're a player, even if you're just 50% or 60%. I don't know. I think that France would have won anyway, even if they didn't play well. And Morocco deserve credit for the way they played and kept going and never giving up and trying to create something and to cause problems. But overall, I think that the step was just too high this time.
It was a high step. Obviously, chasing a game from early on for
it
any
doesn't
team,
help, yeah.
It becomes more difficult, even more so for Morocco, who, I've said this before. They're not a purely defend and counter team. Like, they don't play a low block. They play a mid block. When they counter, they counter through passing and combination. Again, might be different if Mbappe were Moroccan. You just lump the ball over the top and let him chase it, right? But there's so much quality, so much organization, so much intelligence in the way they played. And so they find themselves early on having to take the game to France. And there were moments which could have broken their way. Is it El Yamik?
Yeah.
Hitting, it's overhead kick.
Yeah.
Hitting, I can't tell if it hit the base of the post or if it hit Lloris.
Yeah, Lloris' hand just in front of it.
But pretty darn close.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the Sofiane Boufal incident, which could easily have been given a penalty, probably should have been given as a penalty.
I don't think it was a pen, no. I think Theo touching the ball, he takes the ball out of and then it's just two players barging into each other. I don't think that was a pen.
Okay, but could have been.
Could have, maybe.
So we're talking fine margin, and obviously France's second goal came late. But let me ask you this: Did it play into Deschamps? Didier Deschamps would have been so happy saying like, "Oh look, we got the early lead. Now I can go back to being 2018 Didier
Exactly.
Deschamps."
Exactly, 39% of the ball against Morocco is exactly what he dreamed of the night before. We spoke to Regragui after the game and we said to him, was it the game plan to have 61% of the ball? And he said, well, no at all. That was not what we wanted to do, but we kind of had to because we fell behind early on and also because the French were too happy to sit back and wait. And I think this French team is so good at suffering, really, which is crazy to say, but they're good at it. They can deal well with it. They deal well. They don't panic. They deal well with everything that comes their way. If you think the second half, really, when they look a bit more under pressure, there was only 3 shots on target. The XG from Morocco in the second half is very, very low, very little. I know there's a couple of good crosses, but nothing that would threaten the French defense.
Okay, so use a term there. Is that a French term, like knowing how to suffer, being able to
Yeah.
suffer? Because that is a very Italian term. I
Yeah.
grew up hearing this about how, like, we would have Italy teams in the past that would effectively simply just defend the old catenaccio, I mean, years ago, and then try to nick a goal here or there, and they're always running around and suffering and defending well and whatever. And oh, we know how to suffer. And I don't like that term. I don't like that term because this is a low-scoring sport. If you're suffering, it's because you're not playing well. Because there is a way to defend well, to not concede anything, to defend your league without suffering, right?
Yeah, completely.
Without that kind of frenzy. And I thought I saw a little bit of that with France. I saw France in difficulty when Griezmann starting out almost almost playing as a number 10 in 4-2-3-1, and then by the end he was a third midfielder, right?
Yeah, which was always a bit the plan, to be fair, because that's where he's played all tournament. But yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think it's a very thin balance to find between suffering in the sense that you can still control the game and the pace of the game, and even if you let the ball to the opposition, you suffer because you don't have it, but you're not under that much pressure. Or more like against England, for example, that second half against England where they suffered, but they struggled.
Yeah.
I never really thought against Morocco that they struggled as well when they suffered. But yeah, you're right. It's a dangerous. It's just I find it a dangerous game to play. I was not happy yesterday after the game. I thought they should have played much better. They could have played much better. And I don't understand this obsession almost with like, we've got the lead. Okay, let's do the minimum. And then let's defend now. And we know we're going to have another chance. And to be fair, Giroud hit the post. And it could have been 2-0 up after 25 minutes or 20 minutes. Then there's another Giroud chance in the first half. And then even in the second half, there's a few. So, of course, it could have been very different. However, they played with my heart too much.
I think some of the reason, well, I could tell, Jules, because you were sitting next to me in the first half in the media tribute.
I kept grabbing your arm. Every time I was just like, oh.
And then at halftime, you disappeared. You went somewhere else in the stadium. I didn't see you. I had no idea where you were. So I did wonder, is he okay? Obviously, you're okay because you're here now.
Just about.
I remember some of the rest of the France team, because I thought Ousmane Dembélé in this game gave you nothing.
But it's because you defend. So he has to defend more than attack. And that's why I don't understand.
Well, sweetie, you're a winger. In the modern game, you have to defend against an attacking fullback. It's part of the game, Ousmane. Sorry, dude.
No, but what I mean is that he recovers the ball, let's say, in his 30.
Right. So then pass it to somebody, run up the pitch, receive it back, do something.
Yeah, but it would be so much more effective if he was recovering the ball higher up the pitch, which they don't do, which I don't understand why.
I'll draw a parallel between him. I thought Marcus Thuram played exceptionally well when he came on.
Yeah, big difference.
I like to criticize Didier Deschamps as much as anybody. I thought the Giroud for Thuram with Mbappe effectively becoming center forward after that, I thought that was 100% nailed on move.
I agree.
And by the way, if you're not having a great game in terms of opportunities going forward, Ousmane, why don't you copy from the young one on the other side of the pitch? Because Marcus Thuram gave you so much going forward and defensively.
Yeah. No, you're right. And he's at the high line. He's involved in the second goal. He's involved in one of the chances that Kylian has as well. And this is what Deschamps wants. Coman could not really play because he had a bit of a virus himself, like Upamecano and Rabiot, who were also missing. And I think we saw how much Rabiot was missed and how important he is for that team. And how good it would be for him to come back for the final.
Not the same thing.
Not the same. No bad game from Fofana, but just not the same thing. You're right. But yeah, I like Coman and I like Colomwani. 40 seconds in, first touch, he scores a goal in the semi-final of the World Cup. It's like a dream come true.
So we talked about Morocco, obviously, after the semi-final win. I want to re-emphasize this point because a lot of people may have missed it, right? Obviously, we all know first Arab team, first African team, second team from a majority Muslim nation to reach the stage. Do you know there have been 88 World Cup semi-finalists stroke Final Fourists?
Yeah.
In 1950, obviously, it was a 14 World
Cup.
How many of those 88, we're going to play a little test, a little trivia with Jules. How many of those 88 are not from Europe and South America?
Wow, okay. So
I'll give you a hint. One is Morocco.
Yeah. No, I know. I will go for...
All right.
5, 6 maybe. I forget one maybe.
3.
3 that are not Europeans.
European or South American. Obviously.
Oh,
Brazil,
I didn't hear the South American. That's why, because I was counting already Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil.
So there's been 88 teams. Obviously, some teams might have done it more times.
Yeah.
Right? 88 teams reach the semifinals.
Okay.
3 have not come. There's been 3 occasions when they've not been from Europe or South America.
Okay.
One is Morocco.
Yeah.
One is obviously
South Korea.
2002. The other one?
Yeah, and then I won the other one, I think. I knew there was another one, but I won.
I'll give you a hint. It's a very big country. You've been there.
I've been there.
Your basketball heroes are from there. Most of them. Except for that guy, the 7'5" French guy who dribbled with his legs. But many of the other ones are from there.
Okay, from the U.S.
The United States of America, 1930 World Cup. Check it out. Brett Patnod, first person in history to score a hat trick in a World Cup.
Amazing.
Again, just
I'd
to point
forgotten
that
about
was before my time as well.
Yeah, you were not born in 1930.
No, I was not born in 1930. No, but just to put it in context.
Yeah, of course.
This
It's an amazing
is a really
achievement.
big deal. And the point I made in my column in writing about this is not built on sand. This is not, oh, look, we found a bunch of talented people in Europe who are of Moroccan origin and we chucked them together. As you explained on the show last time, as we talked about, there's the King Mohammed Center in Morocco.
Yeah.
They supply the current African Champions League champion, the African Confederation Cup champion, which is like their Europa League. There is a lot of work behind it.
There is, and great success as well.
And I think this is a bit of an inflection point. You know, not necessarily for Morocco, not necessarily for African football, but I would to sound like Pele making predictions here, but I don't know if somebody's going to win the World Cup in the next 20 years from outside Europe or South America, but I think you will certainly see people closing in, whether it's obviously CONCACAF, Mexico, the U.S., Canada. There's a whole bunch, you know, I mean, Nigeria, Cameroon, and obviously from Asia, Korea, Japan. Like there are. I think the gap is definitely
no, I can see what you mean. Yeah, I can see that coming.
So big shout out to Morocco.
For history and for everything they made, and it has to be the beginning though. This can't be in itself an achievement, and you think, okay, we've got there, and now it's fine. There's an AFCON to come in 2024, which I think they can win. Regragui is going to stick around for now, but very soon he's going to go to a club, and a bigger club with big things to achieve. But you need to make the most of having this generation there. The younger one, like Unai, for example, is there for 10 years. But the likes of Ziyech, even Boufal, enjoy them and make the most of them being there right now.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.